said, my name is Coach Graham from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. We are a Division I school right outside of Madison.
Muted.
A little bit about myself. I played at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater from 2012 to 2014. Won 2 national titles, All-American defensive back there, so I had a lot of success playing that position. Now, just starting to give back and get into defensive back, press, man. Again, if you have any questions, I'm not sure if your mic's muted or not, but if you have any questions, I have a chat with another computer. Feel free to ask away. As long as we're all good, I'll get started. So, press man to man. Now, a lot of people say, why play press man to man? And oftentimes people like to say, well, we don't want to play press because we're afraid we're going to get beat. A couple of reasons why we like to play press man to man here. One, very disruptive, especially at the high school level. Okay, you play press man to man, you get quarterbacks that aren't quite sure what they want to do when they're playing press man to man, and they see it, and if they're not coached up to know what to look for, press man to man can be extremely disruptive. Okay, we give 3 looks, basic looks at a press man. We play press, which we'll talk about the majority of the time. We play a lot of bail, which is just another change up to press, and then we play a stab tactic, which I'll show you also in some huddle slides in a little bit. Again, cause confusion a lot for quarterbacks. Okay, again, we play bail. Oftentimes in our bail, we'll get quarterbacks, we'll bait them into throwing fade balls while we're bailing, thinking that we're in press, so it works a lot for us. A big thing we do here at Sun Prairie, we bring a lot of pressure. And I'd say probably 85% of the time, 90% of the time, we're bringing pressure. We're a 3-5-3 team, so we're bringing pressure off the edges. So if you're going to sit back in the zone and your pressures aren't hitting, you're going to get picked apart a little bit. So we like to get up to the line and crouch and take away a lot of that. Leads to the next one. It takes away a lot of quick games, okay? Especially at the high school level, teams love throwing slants. They love throwing pitches. They love throwing out routes. They love the 3-step drops. And this takes away a lot of that. The last thing I put is it allows your athletes to go be athletes. If you can teach it, they can play it. Big thing about press man is people think, well, you need to be a super athlete to play it. As we're going to get into this, I'll tell you, we had corners that are 5'7". We had a corner that's 6'2". They both played it very effectively. Both played it really well. Not overly fast. There's a lot you can do if you learn the technique of it. Okay? Again, if you have any questions, I have the chat open. You can also buzz in, say something. It'll make this go a lot smoother. So, basics of press man-to-man. First is basic stance and alignment. And again, I'll show you some of this when we get into our huddle clips. If there's anything specifically you want to see, we'll show you that. But basic stance alignment, okay? This crowded line of scrimmage, we align off the wide receiver and saying, if the wide receiver is off the line, we will align off him. So if he's, we're going to get right on the line of scrimmage. If he's on, we'll be a yard off him. Okay? Say feet parallel, about shoulder width apart. We might go a little wider depending on the kid, but we like that wide base for the simple fact, good stance, good movement. We think a lot, I say kind of a basketball stance in that essence that you don't want to be too narrow so you get off balance. Okay, say on the balls, your feet bent, knees flattened down, chest angled toward parallel with ground. Okay, you want to be low and crouch. You want to be up high for the simple fact you're getting ready to go. You're going to be moving. Big one here is get your hands ready to go. And a lot of high school defensive backs still go watch and they'll try and play press man and they'll have their hands sitting at their side, and on the snap of the ball, they'll bring them up to their chest and try and throw a punch.
You got anything?
Okay? It's not the way we do it. We'll show you again when the DBs, when we get to film. DBs are going to have their hands ready to go on their chest, ready to fire their hands. Okay, we go inside eye shade, although it can vary. Okay, so inside eye simply means we take our outside eye and we put it on their inside eye. We take our outside leg and split the middle of the wide receiver. A reason we don't want to line up too far inside is we don't want to just have an auto fade route. We don't want to line head up because it gives people a two-way go, which means they can run outside right away, they can run inside right away, and you have no leverage. Okay? Only times we vary is if we're in cover 1 to the boundary line up outside. If somebody wants to know and talk about that, I can. And if we line up and stab, we take the opposite line. We line up outside shade. Outside eye shade. Okay. Snap of the ball. Okay, it's important going back to this when you got your hands ready. Snap of the ball comes. Snap of the ball, we go total focus the receivers in the midsection. A lot of the things in press are totally in line with where's that wide receiver going. We don't want our eyes to a place that's going to deceive us, such as the wide receiver's head. Okay, we want to activate feet, soften up, slightly using a quick foot motor movement. We'll talk about motoring in a bit, but we want to gain distance. Okay, personally, I'm a big believer in when we press, we don't want to sit right on the line of scrimmage and get into a fist fight every single time at the line. Okay, because you go watch any single wide receiver coach, and they run their get-off drills, get-off a press drill. Okay, they're doing it on a stationary dummy or a stationary human, and it's assuming that that guy's going to sit there and try and get in a hand fight. So we gain distance, we soften up on the snap for a lot of reasons. That's one of them. Again, you don't want to throw two arms out and try and stick someone on the line, because that's when you get beat. Now, we'll do that from time to time. If we play a slower, bigger wide receiver we think we can be tough with, which we'll just call tough technique, but that's very rare. Okay? Next point of emphasis, we want to keep the DB's square shoulders on the wide receiver's square shoulders as long as possible. Simply mean we don't want to open the gate. If you watch, and I'll show you clips of this as well, you'll get some young defensive backs who will think, well, I have to open up immediately. They'll open up to the outside. Wide receiver runs a slant, and they're going to the house. Okay, so we want to stay as square as possible, as long as possible. Meaning if that wide receiver wants to work straight up the field and doesn't take a release, either inside or outside, he's just running straight at us, we can still backpedal and stay square with them. And that's why I put your JV mirrors the receiver's hip movement and stopping, trying to stay in front of inside the receiver's framework. So we want to stay inside slightly. Okay, so if the wide receiver tries to weave us off the line, we're going to weave. Okay, but the big thing is, and this is it right here, is not opening the gate. Okay, again, I'll show you people, they'll open up the gate right away on us, and it gets them into trouble. Okay, here's the big one. And this is what I try and tell people the most is what is the hardest kids to understand. You need to be patient. And by being patient, the goal of every time we're playing press is not elimination of the route, it's disruption of the route. Simply saying, by being patient, giving yourself time, you don't need to be over anxious. You don't have to overcommit too fast, lose balance, control position. Okay, you don't have to overextend in an attempt to be unaggressive or aggressive, unneeded contact. This is simply saying you watch some of the guys that learn it right away, and as soon as the ball is snapped, they're looking to throw, they're looking to punch, they're looking to do something instead of just softening with the wide receiver and getting distance.
That, but then I went and posted it and had like...
One of my favorite things, if you ask your kids, they'll tell you, if you use two hands, you have no feet. Okay? It's hard to talk about this over video, but let me try. Simply saying, if you are going up to a wide receiver and he's trying to come off the line and he gives you an outside release and you throw both your hands at the guy, you're going to lose both of your feet because you're off balance. So we throw with an inside arm punch, and we try and keep both hands out of it. Now, we'll talk about times where you can get both hands up in the wide receiver, especially if you're playing a tough technique or if he's trying to run you over. But it goes back to the idea that we aren't sitting there trying to get in a fist fight every single time on the line. We're softening. We're trying not to let the wide receiver just take a free release and get physical on us. Okay? So one of my favorite sayings, if I take something that's two hands, no feet, use both your hands, you're going to lose the balance on your feet, and the wide receiver is going to run right past you. As the progression goes now, so as the wide receiver starts gaining ground on you, and he declares the direction, so if he declares his direction of release is going to be an inside direction of release or an outside direction of release, we're going to open up, and he opens his hip beyond 45 degrees and moves outside the T. Now, what the T is, and this is important to understanding and getting young DBs to understand that, if you hold your arms out to your side, like a T, and if you imagine that that's about the distance you want that wide receiver to take that release. Okay, again, you can go on YouTube. You're going to watch the LSUs, the Tennessees, all these big D1 schools. They'll do this drill on stationary dummies. The first thing a wide receiver wants to do is try and stack you. Okay, simply meaning stacking is when a wide receiver gets off the ball, he's going to try and put you on his butt so that he can maneuver wherever he wants to go and you have no path to the ball. Okay, so we don't want to get stacked. Meaning if we get him outside of our tee, we're going to be able to play it from the top shoulder. We're going to be able to play from inside leverage depending on which way he releases. Okay, so I put it, the DB should open up his hips at a 45-degree angle. We motor step, which I'll explain later. We're getting ready to run with the wide receiver. Now, this motor step, again, I'll explain a little later, but this is kind of our tempo to not just simply turning and running and taking off, okay, because we don't want to get comebacks thrown on us. So we motor step so we can get into phase. Okay, this is a little bit different. This is something I personally say. You'll hear some people say we opposite arm jam, we opposite arm whatever. We say punch. The reason I say punch is because high schoolers especially, if you say jam, they don't quite get the emphasis you're putting on this. Seems to be a physical, contact, hard, get the wide receiver off his line. Okay, so we say punch. So use an opposite arm punch. Meaning if he goes to your left, you're throwing with your right. If he goes to your right, you're throwing with your left. We want to disrupt the route. Okay, so arm opposite release, palm of hand to near number, lock out the elbow with the thumb up. Okay, why we lock out the elbow with the thumb up? If you hold your arms sideways instead of thumb up, you're going to get your arms collapsed and that wide receiver is going to be able to stack you. So we throw thumb up. We also try and keep the palm of our hand to the near number, meaning if you put it up under his breastplate, you can stab him right there in a punch. Yeah, that's the most effective area to punch the wide receiver. Okay, you're going to get a lot of kids that initially they'll start throwing their thumb sideways and they'll get collapsed down. The other thing I say, and I try and tell my guys, you kind of want to curl your fingers up when you punch because you don't want to break your fingers. So if you imagine that, your thumb up, arm extended, I tell them kind of make a fist coming in, but you don't want to get those fingers broke. Okay. Transitioning to cover downfield, we eye the thigh, and I'll show you a drill we do. It's a really simple drill of how you eye the thigh. What that means is as you're heading downfield, so that route is declared outside and we're getting ready to run for a fade ball, your eyes need to transition to his thigh pads. Okay, so we don't want to go towards his head because he can fake us out, look for the ball, etc. Take it to the thigh pads. His thighs have to go where he's going. Okay, we eye the thigh for a receiver in his break points. We're going to see the hip level changing, stride length changing, high hands versus low hands. Okay, you'll see his hip level changing, especially on low hands. You're going to get your routes, such as your out route, your dig route, any of those routes coming in. Okay, and if you ever watch a wide receiver, you can watch it at any level. As soon as they're about to hit that break point, their hips sink, their thighs sink, their hands sink. You'll know what route he's running versus a high hand when he's running a fade, when he's running a post, when he's running anything downfield. You'll notice the difference. Okay, so we say eye the thigh, which if you notice, we're going to say a lot of things there. So we say eye the thigh, eyes to the sky. When we get in phase with the wide receiver, so in phase means if we're in good position, we're running stride for stride, we're running inside if he's running a fade route, we're in good body control, and we're confident that the route is fully developed, meaning this is past the break point of 8 to 12 yards where most routes are going to break, and this guy's declared now we're 12, 15 yards downfield that this is definitely a fade route. We tell a kid, sneak a peek for the ball or see through the receiver to the ball. Means that's why we say as this guy. See if that ball's up in the air and coming down to you. Okay, we tell him not to look back at the quarter trajectory of a football thrown on any deep routes down the sideline. That ball is going to be coming from the sky to the wide receiver. Okay, if you look back at the quarterback, you might miss a second. So we tell him eyes to the sky. Big one is looking lean, especially with younger guys. Especially high school kids. Natural body tendency is when you look up at the sky for a ball, you tend to curl inside, and that ball on a fade ball, you know, is being thrown deep and outside. Okay, so we tell them look and lean, meaning when you look up at the sky, you got to get your lean on into that wide receiver, and you can feel him. Okay, we tell our kids especially if you get your hands to his thighs, you're not going to get called for pass interference if you're in tight. Okay, so we tell them look and lean, get your eyes to the sky. Flash of the football simply says if you look up at a ball, it's not like the wide receivers who can track the ball the whole time. Okay, defensive backs, we're going to quick. We got to catch the flash and be able to catch it in an instant. So as soon as we look, that ball might be on us. We got to catch it, go up and high point it. Let's take it back to the house. Okay? Some tips and tricks we have to this. And these have been extremely successful for us. When you're in press, you have to expect double moves. Okay? So we play the receiver's second step. Both that they have to think opposite direction of the wide receiver foot that sticks hard in the ground. Okay, so if you think of the routes that require a foot in the ground, your digs, your posts, your slants, your comeback, any of those routes where there's a change of direction, you're planting opposite. To run a slant, if you plant your left foot hard, you're coming back on the slant to your right. If you plant your right foot hard, you're coming to your left. So we tell the kids, as soon as you see that hard plant, play opposite of the first step. So we're going to play that second step. Okay? We talk about punching and counter-punching. I'll show you drills to that in a second. But both ways that if you ever get beat on a double move, okay, ways to recover. Here's another really simple tip. And again, by the end of this, I can share the PowerPoint with you and I can send this to you. If you tell your kids, if the wide receiver tries to avoid to your inside, you're thinking curl, you're thinking dig, you're thinking post, you're thinking anything coming in the inside. If that wide receiver tries to avoid to your outside, think out and fade. What this does for a lot of our kids is it really simplifies, okay, this guy just took an outside release. I know that it has to be one of these two routes. Now, does it have to be every single time? No. But if you get them thinking, okay, I recognize the release, I know where the route tree goes from here, really makes them play at a much faster level instead of thinking, oh gosh, I don't know what's going on at all times. Okay, so it really simplifies if they can understand where the release is to what route they're running. Okay, you're going to also see if a wide receiver tries to run through the defensive back, we tell our kids think pressure in or out for block. Okay, it's okay to use your second hand here. I'll show you what I'm through the defensive back. We tell our up on his breastplate, get control of block, and get your eyes back inside or out, seeing where that block and the running back or whoever's coming. Okay, so I think like when teams run ball, when they run jet sweep and you're up and press, they're going to try and lock on. That's a key block. DB's got to think, as soon as I'm feeling pressure from a block, I got to get my eyes inside or outside and be prepared for something coming to me. Okay? Last tip and trick is I tell these guys, if it's a back shoulder fade, which, again, at the high school level, we don't really see a whole ton of them up here. Okay, some schools probably throw a little bit more, but this is a tough route to complete no matter where you're at. We tell them throw arm and attempt to disarm wide receiver. Simply meaning if you get a back shoulder fade, you feel like you're getting chicken winged off the route, throw that back shoulder, throw your arm to wide receiver's back shoulder, and try and disrupt it. If they could throw back shoulder fades and you're impressed, you got to tip your cap to them sometimes to, hey, that's just a heck of a throw. Okay? But it's a very tough throw. It's a tough. Okay? Any questions so far? Again, you can ask them a lot. I'm not sure your mics aren't muted, or you can put it in the chat. If not, we can keep going. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'll show you some of our huddle stuff. I tried making a huddle presentation. It got kind of funky on me, so I wasn't able to upload it. But I'll show you some of the drills we do, and I'll explain the drill. I'll show you the drill. Okay. Understand these were filmed early on in the season as well, so if they look kind of slow or really breaking it down, that's why I was going to have our girls that filmed for us do it later, but kind of forgot towards the end of the season, got busy. So one of the first things we do is called mirror drill. It's the defensive back lines up directly across the line from the wide receiver on the line of scrimmage. He lines up on an inside shade, and we have him go lateral across the line of scrimmage. Okay, hoping our DBs attempt to keep inside leverage. We also want them to understand, we want them to understand how leverage feels off the line, and this forces them to stay square. Okay, again, I always put this in there, no hands. He was forced to play with feet. What we have them do at the very beginning of the year is we tell them, listen, you're going to play press man-to-man without any without any hand system. In fact, we want to get them used to running before we play with our hands. Okay? So, again, I'll show you. I'll go back and forth and show you what each looks like. So, again, it's going to be a little dark. We'll go to this. It's going to be a little dark to see again. We got caught up in the sun. But if you pay attention, all we're doing here is we're just mirroring this wide receiver. Understand with leverage. Again, his foot cutting down the middle of the wide receiver, foot down the middle of the wide receiver. And all we want him to do is on the snap of the ball, we want him getting field. This is what leverage shoes like. I have inside leverage no matter where that wide receiver goes. I'm working, I'm staying inside. Notice now, we want his feet to keep going. Okay, you're going to see a couple times feet get stuck in the mud a little bit. Okay, so if you look again, feet get stuck. You want to tell your kids, hey, keep your feet moving, keep them activated. Okay, you want to go, we call it hot feet. Have hot feet at all times. Okay? So very simple drill. The reason we do this drill, again, just to get them to understand how leverage feels off the line of scrimmage. So it's something we call it our press progression. The first thing we do is our mirror motor step drill. So the defensive back lines up directly across the line for the wide receiver, same style of what you just saw. Okay, inside shade, DV attempts to keep inside leverage. On go, wide receiver will take an outside release. The DV to motor step to open and run. Now, our motor step is just simply this. Now, you'll see it in the film. But our motor step is just kind of a tempo down. And all that means is we don't want our guys flying out of here and just opening up the gate for these guys in a run. Okay? So we have a motor step tempo it. Again, palm open, thumb up, forceful punch. Okay, palm open, obviously no broken fingers. You don't want your guys to break your fingers. Okay? So again, I can show you what this looks like. Let me go. Okay, see this side leverage, hands behind his back. All this wide receiver's going to work sideways, up and down the line. I'll give a go call, and the wide receiver's going to release outside, forcing this guy to motor step. Now you'll notice his motor steps are right. If you watch, slow down. When he goes right there, he takes the first step, opens at a 45, and you're going to watch foot take that tap step, and now a run. The reason we do that is if you get teams that want to throw slant routes and they're well coached, you're going to tell their wide receivers, take that hard outside step and then come back under. Okay, we don't want our guys to just come open, fly, and start running because that wide receiver is going to cut back or land, and he's going to have to whip, turn, and get back in phase. So it's just a real subtle motor step, okay? Going, tempo drill, throw your hands. Okay? Nothing more than just a little timing factor. And it really slows the guys down and saying, I have time. That guy's not screaming past me. To the next part. Okay, we go to our mirror motor punch drill. Okay, the mirror motor punch, again, you want people to go outside of their keys, really just putting it all together now. You got your mirror part, you got your motor steps, now you want to throw your punch. Again, we say throw your punch to his numbers, opposite arm punch, okay, thumb up, palm open. Again, you want to get them outside your tee. It's a really easy way to teach this, that it's setting up cones and stuff. Tell your kids, throw their hands out, say we want the wide receivers to go outside of that tee. Okay, so this is our mirror motor. Let's see it again. Mirror motor punch. Mirroring motor punch right there. Again, this is one of the very first times we're doing this. Looks constant. Throwing your number, thumb up. Getting the feel for it. Off the line, outside release, throw. Okay. So those are the very first three things we do when we teach how to play press man-to-man. And we will probably spend, when we start football back, we'll spend the first 2 days of press doing those three drills. Okay, because that's the basis. If you can do that and understand your leverage and how to play the technique of it, your motor, and how to punch and be forceful with it, The rest of it is just understanding how to play the defensive back position. Okay, again, if you have any questions, I do have the chat open, the message button. You can put it up there. Now, a big one, and this is where I think a lot of people forget, is that if you play enough press man, you're bound to get beat off the line. Okay? It would be crazy to think that if we're going to sit and press man-to-man, that nobody's ever going to beat us off the line. So we teach two different techniques for if you get beat or if you open the gate too fast, ways to recover. The first one is a mirror punch, counter punch. Okay, with mirror punch, counter punch, your receiver's going to angle up field one direction, much like you saw in the mirror punch drill. Okay, so that execute the jam. Then the receiver directs up the other direction. So if he goes to his left, as soon as he gets punched, he flips back and goes the other way. When the DB punches the wide receiver to change direction, forcing the DB to counter punch. As receiver redirects, the DB must also redirect, plant, pivot, and shoot the opposite arm punch to the receiver as he gets in phase, once again heading upfield. So this would be an example again. Wide receiver decides to run a slant and up the line, you mirror punch, counter punch. Flash punch progression instead of drill, something you do all or a part of that practice the entire season. Yes, there's two drills we do every single week, every single day, or every single week of the season, rather, not every single day. Okay, so we do our DB progression, which I can show you. It's 8 drills. You get done in 5 minutes. It uses 20 yards. Okay, you hit every single footwork movement. You're done. We'll do this every single week. There's two things that I will not compromise on. It's one, the punch progression, which is our press progression, and the second is our footwork. So I would highly encourage, especially early in the season, like I said, we'll spend 5 to 6 minutes of this every single day. Once we get in the season, we'll spend 5 minutes, maybe once a week, just refreshing them, because then once we hit it, we'll hit it in Skelly, you'll hit it in team, you'll hit it in practice. Okay, so it's a lot of repetition of it. Okay, so let me show you a mirror punch, counter punch in this. So punch, counter punch. You see, Lease is one way we punch, he flips back, you counter punch. Now, important, if you watch the footwork on this, we're going, motor step, he punches, near number, thumb up. Okay, as soon as that wide receiver plants, if you watch the DB tips, we got to plant up our outside foot, open back up at a 45, and get ready to run. Okay, we call it stepping in the bucket, which would mean if the guy was to open up and he's to step back under himself, take this left foot on this plant and step back here and open it up, okay, it's called stepping in the bucket, which we don't want to do. We want to open up and get our hips back to 45 to work back so we can run with the wide receiver. Okay, again, you'll see another good example. Punt, mirror, go. Okay, again, slow it down one time. Opens up. Now, he kind of steps in the bucket here, and you can see what I'm saying. He opens here, but when he's supposed to step, see he's crossing over. We don't want to cross over until we're ready to run. Okay? So you can kind of see where the idea of this comes in, that we don't want to just open the gate here because he's turning, he's ready to run. And we don't want to be turned ready to run because we're going to get stepping in the bucket. So now he's kind of beat, does a good job of recovering quick hits. But compared to the last one, okay, where you see where he steps. He doesn't step. He motors and does a good job. This one you're going to see is going to step right here and cross over. We don't want to do that. Okay, again, that's why we get those 2 motor steps in. Helps you tempo down so you don't get beat back door on a slant. Okay. Next one we do is called mirror whip turn. Okay, same concept. Receiver angles up the field until he sees the DB attempt to throw a punch, then immediately redirects up the field in the other direction. If the DB softens and attempts to throw the initial punch toward the wide receiver, the DB should intentionally try to be early over anxious on the first jam, so he's going to miss the punch. Okay, so this is saying in a game time situation, okay, we all know high school kids. Kid decides that I'm going to get over anxious, decides to throw the punch early. Okay, we got to recover. Okay, the receiver will beat the DB clean the other direction. The DB must execute a whip turn technique, plant, throw your near elbow back, turn his back to right receiver for an instant, whip head eyes back to right receiver, and get back in phase immediately heading upfield. Okay, so if I watch this, clear this. If we watch the mirror whip turn, hey, you'll see, does a good job right here. You throw, you get your eyes right back to wide receiver. So again, as we slow it down, decides wide receiver hasn't declared it, we're going to throw. We miss the jam. He is good head and eyes here. If you watch his head and eyes, okay, we're out of position. Boom, we got a whip, throw the near elbow back, get back in phase, get your eyes to the side, and let's get going. Okay? Rule number 1 is if you get beat, don't stay beat. Okay, again, good drill here. Get over anxious, throw, get beat, put your foot in the ground, and go. He does a really good job here if you watch. We get beat right here. Throws it, puts that right foot and sticks it. Watch his head whip around fast. Throw the elbow. And let's get back in phase, get back in contact. Okay? Again, I'm a big believer in saying we teach kids how to play press man to man, but we don't actually teach them, okay, if we get beat, what's the next step in this progression? Like, okay? Another big one we do. 2 ways you're going to play. We call this fade no look drill. Okay, fade no look drill simulates the receiver being out of phase on a ball downfield. So you're playing the press progression, you're out of phase, wide receiver beat you on an outside release, we got to catch up. We start the wide receiver 1 yard ahead and takes off. BB must catch him and play the ball through the wide receiver's hands. The reason I put this, hard for any wide receiver to catch the ball one-handed. Okay? Very difficult for a wide receiver to go out and catch a ball one-handed. Including the receiver's head, turn, eyes, track the ball, and finally his arms, hands extended for ball arrival. We punch up with our inside arm through the ball or through the hands of the wide receiver, not down. Reason being, if you watch a wide receiver catch on a fade ball, as he's trying to catch it, natural motion, as he catches that ball is coming into his body. Okay? If we hit down on the ball, it's going to bring it right to him. So we punch up through the hands. We want to break glass. What I tell him is, if you imagine a kid holding glass up on his hand, we're trying to punch up and break the glass, separating the hands, forcing a one-handed catch, and you secure the tackle with your outside arm. Okay? So the drill we use in doing this is called fade no look drill. Now, I will say this. Rookie mistake, I would always run this down the hash or run it down the numbers. Okay? It's very easy for the kids to wedge. This is first day stuff, and I decided we need to do this a little bit differently. So again, this is simply the drill. You start the drill. Wide receiver is 1 yard ahead. DB, which is right here, does not get to look at the ball as his hands go up. We want to play up through the ball in the wide receiver's hands. Okay? Another good example here. As the wide receiver goes 1 yard ahead, we want to play up through the wide receiver's hands. Okay, notice again, does a good job here. As he's going, you're out of position. Wide receiver's running. As he starts to look, we obviously cannot look, even though he's looking at the ball. But good indicator to tell your defensive back, ball's probably coming. Hey, but we can't look because we're not in position. As his hands go up, notice his inside arm to the quarterback. And when I say inside arm to the quarterback goes up, his right arm comes around the back, and we may making the tackle if we needed to. Okay? So again, up through the hands of the wide receiver, not down. And the next one we do is called wedge drill. Again, easy to do if you're along the sideline. Drill simulates receiver being in phase and wedging to the sideline. DB will make a zone turn and look up for the ball, not back at the quarterback. Okay? Again, catch the flash of the ball, use your body to squeeze, wedge the wide receiver to the sideline, maintain contact, look and lean, big point of emphasis. You want to tell these kids, don't just initially get into them and then curl in. Stay into them the whole way until you go and make a play. Okay, we want to attack the ball at the highest point. This is a big point. Step on the gas and keep your wedge on. Hey, step on the gas. As soon as you turn into the man, you're wedging. Your natural tendency, again, is to curl in and slow down. Okay, we want to step on the gas and speed up. That wide receiver's going full speed down the sideline. We got to be going full speed down the sideline. Okay? What that looks like is our wedge drill. And so if you watch, we start square up on this like you're about to flip and turn. Okay, so you start squared up, wide receiver gets into him, contact. Notice as he's going, okay, we got a good wedge, we got our jam on, his hand goes to his hip. Okay, we put hand to the hip because if you have your hand extended to his chest, good chance you're going to get called for pass interference. Look and notice how he's leaning. Watch where he ends up as this goes towards the sideline. We're working, still working towards the sideline. Okay, working. We take our inside hand, play it through the ball if we can't pick it off. Okay, that's a really good example of a drill. Okay, another good example of a drill. Get your hand on him. We know it's wide receiver. We're in good position. We're looking up towards the ball. We're wedging them. The ball's kind of underthrown, so we got to play it. Near hand to the ball. Get up. Play it. Okay? Again, coming in late, but you can see, look, we're leaning this way. Play the ball. Get up. I like to see him go up and get that one. But again, you can understand the concept. Wedge them. Now, buyer beware and careful on this. Do not let your kids, when you're doing this drill, get even, because this is exactly what happens. He gets over-aggressive with his jam. Watch what happens here. You're going to get backdoored and back to the slant if you get on top of the guy too soon. That's why we transition on this drill. We tell our kids, you transition to the back hip of the wide receiver. Okay? So he notice how he's too far out ahead of him already. Wide receiver feels pressure, and he just says, I'm going to run a backdoor slant on him. Okay, but wedge drill is very good. Again, let you watch it one more time. Very good at getting him understanding where we want the wide receiver to go and playing it. One of the last ones we do a stutter go drill. Okay, to emulate if a wide receiver decides to run a double move. It drill simulates a wide receiver getting a double move from a press position, maintaining good leverage. Wide receiver will take off in between the sideline. Hash will stutter and break down 3 times. Wide receiver look for ball. Beauty must get a wedge on. It's a fairly simple drill. It's something we started doing more of as we started seeing teams that could not throw an effective fade ball. They were underthrowing it. Okay, so we call it eye of the thigh drill. Again, very basic. You just line up, get them in a good position, and trail position. You can see, again, hand to the near hip right there if we needed a wedge. And all they're going to do is, they'll say, set, go. Wide receiver will take off, and they're going to break down. Now, notice, this is what we talk about, low hands versus high hands. Okay, high hands is when you're sprinting, you'll watch. As the guy is getting ready to break down right here, what we call low hands is when he decides to settle, to break down. His hips drop, his hands drop, his whole body leverage drops. That's what we're looking for. Okay, as he settles, we settle. Okay, he settles, we settle. Okay, I'll let you watch it one more time, full speed. Again, key teaching point is tell these guys, don't get out ahead of this guy. As soon as they get out ahead of them, okay, they're going to run a comeback on you. You're not going to be able to defend it. Okay, watch it one more time. As he settles and speed up, now you can make it difficult as you go. So if you're starting the beginning of the year, I wouldn't start off doing it as we do it here. This was actually filmed towards the end of the year. But if you watch them, how they vary up their speed. They start slow, go fast, start slow, go fast. Get good at recognizing those types of drills. Okay, so that's all the progression we do to that. Okay, now I can show you, if you want, you can put in the chat again, questions or stuff. I can show you some of our game film again. I'm going to be honest, I don't have a ton of great game film for the simple fact our defense of line had 41 sacks during the year in a 10-game season. Okay, teams only completed 46.1 of their pass against us. We only gave up 2 touchdowns all year, 5.4 yards in attempt. So a lot of the credit is going to go to that front 7 and 8 for allowing us to do our job. We can watch some of the game film we have and just kind of show you different things about what we're talking about, if that's okay. Otherwise, if you have any specific questions, I'll give you a minute. If you want, type it in the chat. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. So I'll show you some of our game film again. If you have questions on anything, thematic-wise, or what we're doing, again, feel free to type it in there. Check the chat. So this is just some of our basic press stuff you're going to see. This is one of the reasons, if you watch right off the bat, I like playing press. When you get like this quad formation, this is open formation. When you get two wide receivers out there, I like playing because a lot of teams want to do this stuff, especially today's football. They want to try and quick screen you. What it does is it puts the pressure on this guy to say, I got to get that block if that ball is coming right here. That is a tough block to make. Okay, it's just we do a good job. That ball gets tipped, so it helps us out. But we're right on that. Okay, again, it helps us out a lot in that we're playing close, playing tight coverage. We're going to get rid of the back view on all this. We don't need to see it tight. Okay, again. Putting the pressure, a lot of what this does, too, is the quarterback sees press and instantly thinks, if that route is going to be anything short, we're going to option B. And we don't even have great coverage on this initially. But, again, we completely eliminate this guy for the simple fact we're playing close. Okay, so it's doing nothing more than taking that route away right off the bat. Okay, this is good stance work. And again, I can share some of these clips if you want. You just see hands are up, ready to go, flat back, eyes to thigh. Now, something I will say that you're going to hear some people, different coaches. And I'm a big believer in if this guy wants to take a radical inside release, as this guy does, he wants to run radical inside. Don't get in a fist fight. We'll play it on the top shoulder. And you'll see some coaches say, well, if they run a slant, we're going to give no slant release at all. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking if they're going to run that slant that often, we'll play it from the top shoulder down and we'll make a play because that's a tight window to throw it in. The tough part is I don't want to tell these guys give a no slant release at all times out in the open field because then you're setting yourself upside go. So you'll see as this guy takes a radical inside slant release, okay, we just throw an opposite arm and we just play it on the top shoulder and run. So even if he's to throw that ball in that window, we're still in really good coverage. Okay? Again, good position right here. When I told you before, I feel that anyone can play man no matter what you have. This is our about 5'8" corner, 6'4" wide receiver. Okay, we told him, you're going to have to play it, but use it to your advantage. He does a good job on the guy. Stay low, let's run with him. Okay, they're looking to throw a fade ball. Okay, but again, quarterback knows he has this advantage. A, he's not choosing to throw it, or they're not choosing to throw it, so it's still an advantage for us. Okay, we don't want him 8 yards off the ball, throw a hitch, and have 160 pounds trying to tackle 220. Okay, so we'll tell him, go up and press him, use your speed, use your athleticism, and go after the guy. Okay, again, if I had to make what the stance looks like, that's it right there. Okay, get your hands up, flat back, eyes to his thigh, getting ready to rock and roll. Again, he does a really good job on this guy the whole time, the whole game. Again, we'd like him to stay, if you watch, kind of gives that hop step and then opens the gate a little bit without throwing a punch. But he's fast enough that he's just going to run with the people that he's playing against. Still tell him throw a punch, but okay, again, they're taking radical inside slant releases. Their opposite arm, let's just run. Now, I know somebody in the chat asked, do you play any catch man-to-man? Here's my feeling on catch man-to-man, is that it's kind of one of those popular buzzwords out there right now, that everyone's kind of, what is it? We saw a college coach do it, we have to do it. Not a huge fan of catch man-to-man out in the open field. Reason being, I don't want tall, athletic, and can run on a full 8-yard sprint at our guy and then try and play catch. Now, down on the goal line, we're not doing it right now, but we'll play a little catch man-to-man on the goal line. Easy way to teach on the goal line is put your heels 3 inches in front of the goal line, inside shade. Do not move backwards in the goal line. You're taking away all inside routes. Play it to the outside and get your hands on the guy. Okay? We're not going to play it down here because we're a little bit further out, but you're going to see a really good job playing on the top side. Again, corner here, new corner, 5'8" corner, playing against 6'4", could throw fade, but even if he throws a fade, good opposite arm jam, and let's run. That ball's going to have to be thrown perfect. Okay? Now I'll show you a bad example. Okay? Tough example. Kid's too far off, but if you scream out of the gates, meaning you're playing press, the difference here is we're letting the cushion close, giving cushion. Okay? You don't want to invite a slant because then this happens. Okay? So understand, you can be patient. Does a really good job if you watch him. He's patient. Patient, stay square, now we run. Okay? He's a really good play. It's either this one or the next one. He plays a double move and picks it. Okay, again, play the slant, come off thing. Right up here, this is probably one of the better plays all year. Okay, we're in press man-to-man. It's our best wide receiver. We're thinking, we got a double move. We run with it. Quarterback throws a underthrown ball that's picked off. Now, here's something I will say. Throw this little tidbit, nothing related to press man. But we tell our kids, and you're going to hear a lot of coaches say what? Get the interception and get to the sideline. Okay, Stolas, Green Bay Packers defensive back coach, said if these are our best athletes on the field, are our defensive backs. I tell our kids, turn it into a punt return. Okay, so you're going to see, he sees right now, you could take it up, because he was our punt returner. Okay, he could take it right here in the lot of window. Okay, a lot of white individuals, white jerseys over this way. Okay? Says to bring it back across the field, you're going to see just become an athlete and turn it into a punt return. Get a couple nice blocks, we get back up the field, and away we go. There's a little bit different philosophy, again, on what I do. But if you watch him off the start, from the very beginning, it all starts. He's patient, plays it, run with it. Now, show you another example. With the good, we'll have the bad. Okay? Starts off fine, good position. Decides to open the gate, right? There's still 3 yards of cushion here. No reason to. Decides to open the gate. Guy runs the slant. Now he's got to flip his hips quick and get going. Doesn't affect us because they're running power. But, again, you can see the importance of, we can stay square, but there's no reason, he has no reason to open right there. The guy's still 3 yards away. Stay patient. Play it. Now, this is one you get caught in it. If they motion in like this, where he's motioning in, probably going to want to get out of press. We're supposed to. This was messed up. He's supposed to come to loose. But does a good job, okay? Guy beats us inside. If you get beat, we're working up to the top shoulder. We're top, and it ends up making a play on the ball, okay? But we want to work up the field and try and beat him to the spot. Quarterback's trying to throw it out here. We're going to beat our guy to the spot. And again, good position, good body frame. If the guy wants to run a slant, we'll just run with it. And running slant, work up the top shoulder, turns into a scramble drill. Again, hopefully you can see, though, as you're watching some of these clips, again, I extend these clips, how much pressure we're getting on a lot of these guys by just bringing pressure. This one, we're bringing 5, 6, 1, 2, we're bringing 5. That's what I thought. Bringing 5, playing press man, quarterback under pressure, throws a bad ball, it turns into an interception. Okay. Yeah. Quarterback. Bringing 5. Now, this is 2 hands technique. You watch up top. If the wide receiver wants to run right through, we're going to get 2 hands on the wide receiver and get our eyes back inside and get rid of the guy. Okay. Put your hands on him, get back into the middle. Watch more. 2 hands up top. 2 hands on him. Okay? Wide receiver wants to release. Run it slow. Wants to release. Not doing anything. Get your eyes on him. Get your hands inside. Get to the football. Show you one more example up top. And down low. Get your hands to him. Let's go. Again. Bringing pressure every time.
Again, it's the only time I tell teams, get two hands, get off the ball, go make a play, go stick it up in there. Okay? Does real wonders. Again, you know if you're getting blocked and that ball's inside, you can assume that ball is going to bounce. Get off the receiver, let's go. It's a really good play right here, actually, too. This is the one I wanted to get to. Watch how you get two hands on, go make a play. It's a big advantage if you can get your corners active in the run game by getting two hands on people. Okay, now this is a stab technique. I'll talk a little bit about it. I didn't put it in press. Stab technique is used so that when we play teams that want to run a lot of outside releases because they want to run fade balls the whole time, we tell them to stab. Key points on the stab is as you open. Again, this is one of the very first times we ever taught this, so we're not very good at it yet. But if I had film from the end of the year doing it, we'd prove wonders. Stab technique is we're going to take our arm on the outside. We line up just a shade outside. We're going to take our outside arm, we're going to stab the outside shoulder of the wide receiver and take this foot and open it 180, and we're going to bail on the outside. Okay, we bail outside because we think they're about to throw a fade ball, or they have an athlete that's just been running fade. Okay, so we either think they're going to throw a fade ball, or we know a guy that they have on their team that all he does is run vertical routes, run fade. Okay, so if you watch, he runs, and we're going to turn to get to your outside, we flip. Okay, but we want to work and try and work as much towards his outside without having to flip whatsoever. Okay, so you can see it again. Stab towards his outside, work down the middle of him, that's a great drill. Okay? Again. Slow it down, you stab. Outside numbers, eyes to him. As soon as you feel him, now you're already in phase, you can take a peek inside. If that quarterback's trying to throw hot, you already got your inside, you got your hands on him, you're in great position to go make a play. Okay, we'll run it back one more time. Good, catch your eyes, now turn and run. Oh, you can see it right down here in the game again. You take an outside, slight outside shade, throw your arm, see how it opens up? It's good open right here. I'll run it slowly, stabs, see how it's open to back to 180, he's parallel down the outside of the guy. That's the drill right there. Okay. Out of all of that, I think that is about all I got for that. We do a little bit of bail. I can explain that quick. Bailing just simply says, if you watch how we line up in it, because we like to move around a lot, okay, initially quarterback's going to read and say, hey, this is press. Okay, you'll see though, on this, right before the snap of the ball, we're going to open up back completely to 180, and we're going to creep out. Crossover. Key to this is staying down the middle of the wide receiver. You want to split him, and on the snap of the ball, you want to snap your head right back to the wide receiver and get running. So you can see he does a good job here. Eyes inside, see the snap, eyes right to our guy. Okay, bail down the middle of the wide receiver. Again, it's great. We like doing it when teams are backed up. The offensive coordinators, here's their idea is, oh, we're backed up. We're going to throw a fade ball. Okay, got a question. It says, is the decision line outside and stab based on film study, down distance, divider, etc.? When do they change inside to outside alignment? So when we stab, it's purely outside alignment. Now, here's the thing about in stab and why you can align outside is because if you adjust from an inside eye shade to an outside eye shade, almost nobody's going to pick up that you've adjusted your alignment. And if they pick it up, tip your cap to them and say, hey, you figured out that we moved 6 inches one way or the other. Okay, so it's literally taken, if you're lining up inside, you take your left foot and split the guy. Okay, if you want to line outside, then you go and take your right foot and you split the guy. Okay, we are always outside foot up. If the ball's on our left-hand side, our right foot would be splitting the guy if we're pressing. Left foot would be on the inside stabbing. I don't think it really has anything to do with stab. It has to do with down and distance dividers. I'm going to say this. I'm not going to stab if it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5. Okay, we're going to be press or bail dividers. It's really, stab's more of just a technique again. why we like doing it is when you get a decision like this, you can either stab or bail. Okay? If you watch what's currently going on, if you're backed up like that, you can assume nobody's throwing a short route. Okay? They're going to try and max protect, take their shot, throw it deep. So if you stab, that's going to open you up to the fade release and allows you just to get in and get ready to run. Okay? So it doesn't, I don't think it necessarily for us, it doesn't have anything to do with down and distance dividers, etc. Okay? And we only change inside eye to outside line, outside eye, if it's stabbed. Now, again, I mentioned it earlier in the presentation. We'll align outside press if it's cover 1, for the simple fact all you're helping cover 1, a true cover 1 with a high low and a low hole dropper, high hole, low hole, is that all your help's in the middle. And if you're into the boundary, we don't want that guy running a fade. So we'll press from the outside on that. If that answers your question good, if that not, you can put it back in the chat and I'll try answer. But again, fade looks like press, creep out, does a good job, get out on the snap. And this is why we do it. Quarterback takes 3 steps and throws it right almost to us. Again, quarterback's thinking this is why we like doing it, and you mess it up. You have 3 strategies in one. If you watch this, quarterback's looking there and saying, safety's down, you got 9 in the box, they were max protecting, I'm going to throw a fade. Except on the snap, we're bailing out and getting ready to run on the fade. Okay, so quarterback takes 3 steps, says, I have only 2 routes. I can throw it or I can run it here. Decides to throw it, overthrows our DV, could have been a pick. Okay, again, we'll show you bail. Going into more of a shuffle, bailing right here, and does the same thing. Throws it right into what we're doing. Quarterback says, hey, we got 8 in the box, they're coming hot. 9's on our tight end, I'm 1-on-1 on the outside. I got press technique. I'm going to throw it, except we're already out running. Now we're just going to stay on top of the route, stand at high shoulder, make a play. Okay. I think, let me see, press man. Pretty sure that might be all of it. Okay. So again, I have some stuff on loose man. I know it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern time. Getting kind of late for some of us. But if you have any questions, feel free. I'll go back and put this back up there. You can go to my Twitter handle, @CoachGravel. Okay, easiest way to reach me. Be happy to help any of you put this in. Travel the country a little bit. Come talk some ball. But, press man, like I said, I think anyone can do it. I think as long as you have people that are willing to teach it and you're willing to learn it, it is not difficult to do as long as you work at it. So that is defensive back press man coverage. If you have any questions, I'll be around for a while. Otherwise, thank you to Coach Smith for setting this up. Thank you to everyone on Coach Huey forums. And I hope you enjoyed this.